CIA agents are very important, making an average salary of $169,000 per year. I'm gonna see if I can't become a part of the CIA because I want some of that moolah. But there are a few problems. In order to become a CIA agent, firstly, one must have a bachelor's degree, and I'm still in high school. Number 2, one must be fluent in a foreign language. I barely know how to speak American. Number 3, one must have served in the military, and based on my KD in Call of Duty, I'd fail miserably. And finally, one must pass the CIA physical fitness test, which is composed of push-ups, sit-ups, and a timed 2-mile run. It's said to be one of the most difficult physical fitness tests on the internet. And most of you all know I'm not super good at athletics, like at all. So I'm basically going into this without any practice whatsoever, which probably means complete and utter embarrassment. And before I knew it, we were on the field. And this brings us to the first portion of the test, which is push-ups. In order to complete a push-up with optimal form, you must go down to a 90-degree angle with your elbow and fully lock out at the top. The goal to pass is to do 77 push-ups in a row. And with being extremely underprepared for this challenge, I was about to go balls deep into pressing as hard as I could. I set a timer of 2 minutes for this portion of the test, which brings us to right now, where we're starting in 3, 2, 1, go. It was at this time that I was starting to slow down. In fact, the fatigue of my muscles were so great that I had to even rest in the downward dog yoga position to retain some form of energy. However, the time was running out. In fact, it had nearly been a minute and a half, and I had only done 65 push-ups so far, which means I needed to do 12 more reps. And with this in mind, I was giving it my all. My arms were shaking, my chest was completely fried, but sadly the timer had gone off, which means it was time to see my results. After carefully reviewing the footage, I found that I did a whopping 79 push-ups in a row. I don't know how. I'm not gonna ask any questions. I'm just gonna go with it. This means that I not only passed the push-up portion, but I scored higher than the perfect number on the test, which means I'm better than you. And with riding this high, it was time for the next portion of the test. The next portion of the test is the sit-up portion. In order to complete a sit-up with proper form, one must have their elbows crossed and bring them to their knees. With that, I also need someone to hold down my feet at all times, which is why I need this, because I literally have no friends. A perfect score was 78 sit-ups in a row. And let's just say that didn't happen. Like, some people can't perform under pressure, but I basically crumbled. Mentally and physically, I died. Like, look at my face. This obviously wasn't going my way, which is when the unthinkable happened. Just as we predicted, the sit-ups didn't go my way. In fact, they went the opposite of my way. Literally the complete other direction of my way. Just look at me. I'm laying on the ground, debating about my life choices, practically dead. But this story isn't over. In fact, I still had one last task to complete. It just had to be my least favorite: running. So I went home and started to stretch because I'm not trying to pull my hip or my knee or whatever. This is also me making extremely awkward eye contact with one of my neighbors that I've never met before while he just stares directly into the soul of the camera. Anyways, after not stretching for nearly enough time, I had summed up enough courage to begin. I was prepared to give these 2 miles my all. I needed to run both miles in 13 minutes or less in order to get a perfect score. I started off strong with having a decent pace. My only worry was going out too fast. With this, all I could think about was how mental this portion of the test was. In fact, it was all mental. My body was perfectly capable of running 2 miles in 13 minutes, but it was how much I wanted it. I needed to stay focused, otherwise I would end up running at too slow of a pace. This was the time where I needed to find my why of this challenge. The reason why I was doing this was not just to pass, it was to prove to myself that I could do what nobody thought I could. All I needed was to grind out these last few minutes in hell. My quads were aching, my feet were sore, but my mind was dead focused on the prize. Finally, I had arrived home and collapsed. I was staring into the sky, which is when I found out that I ran the 2 miles in 14 minutes and 32 seconds. Although this wasn't a perfect score, I had passed with a whopping score of 226, which means I got a 75% on the test. While I was on the ground, I was reflecting on how I did. All I could think about was not running the 2 miles in 13 minutes, which is when I realized that it didn't matter. All that mattered was how hard I worked to reach the goal. It wasn't about reaching the 13 minutes that I was searching for. It was the fact that I needed to prove to myself that I had the dedication to give all I could. In fact, that's the thing that truly builds character. Not the goal itself, but how you reach the goal. And that is basically how the story ends, with me dead in the middle of my driveway, giving myself respect because of how hard I tried. The end.